everybody, welcome back to Gettin Outdoors Radio Network. We're running deer up in here at the Roland Cooper State Park this morning with some good old deer dogs hanging around. They having a good time out there playing. This segment of Gettin Outdoors Radio is brought to you by Tyler Wyndham and all the folks at Wyndham Motor Company at the intersection of Highway 43 and 80 in Demopolis, Alabama. Wyndham Motor Company in Demopolis is your local Chevrolet, Buick, and pre-owned dealer. They offer great and friendly service on all makes and models. And remember what Tyler said. For 38 years, they've been selling trucks, killing ducks, and chasing them 8-point bucks. Call them at 334-341-84891 or look them up on the web at wyndhammotorco.com. Or as Tyler says, the best thing to do is come see them at the intersection of 43 and 80 in the great metropolis of Demopolis. Y'all go check them out and tell them old Big Daddy sent you. I have a very special guest with me this morning. I tell you, I've been involved in the outdoors for many, many years, and I have had the good fortune to have a great relationship with the Conservation Department, state of Alabama, for a long time. I've gone through 3 directors, and I can't count the commissioners I've been through since I've been doing this outdoor promotion stuff. But I got with me an old hometown boy, Brock Jones. He was recently appointed, well, I say recently, it's been over a year now, to the Conservation Advisory Board by Governor Kay Ivey. He sat on the board previously, but he's back on it, and we are proud to have him on the advisory board. Brock, good morning. Thank you so much for making time to be here today.
Well, good morning, Big Daddy, and I'm honored to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Let's talk a minute for the people out there that might not understand the Conservation Advisory Board. And I think, how many members is it? It's 10 of y'all, isn't it?
That's correct.
10 members.
All over the state representing all the congressional districts. We've got some congressional districts that have 2 representatives and some that have 1. I'm representing District 7, which pretty much covers the Black Belt, and I'm the only representative. Hopefully there's a vacancy right now, and hopefully the governor will choose to appoint someone to represent District 7 along with me, because, you know, the Black Belt is probably the most utilized hunting area in the state, so I think we ought to have 2 representatives. But anyway, so our job is to be the ears and eyes of the Conservation Department and report to Commissioner Blankenship, who has done an unbelievable job.
Really?
and make him aware of what people are thinking out there, whether it's issues about deer hunting or turkey hunting or alligator hunting or whatever. So that's what our role is, and that was the one thing you asked me what you wanted me to talk about today, or what I want to talk about. And that, I think, is the biggest thing, is that I want people to contact me in the 7th District or wherever. I guess we cover more than the 7th District on the 2 radio stations that you got. Mm-hmm. But anyway, to let me know any concerns. And what I'd like to start doing on a regular basis is meeting with people in the various areas to hear the concerns, in addition to just getting a phone call.
Well, I can remember, Brock, when you first got appointed, we talked, and you did that. You had town hall meetings all over this district, mm-hmm. and you got some great feedback. You got to meet some people that you never met before, mm-hmm. and that is what I've been pounding the podium about for so long. We got to have a line of communication between the Conservation Advisory Board and the public and the hunting in general. And everything works better with communication and transparency. And I think me and you both agree on that.
Communication, transparency, and not having a political agenda or having a personal agenda.
I wasn't going to say that, but I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, and with that said, the resources that we have, not only in the state of Alabama, but especially the Alabama Black Belt, have just the potential that has not been reached yet.
No doubt. And one thing that you had Claude Jenkins on last week that I'm really excited about, not to get off on this right now, but the native grasses, I think, is something that really excites me, and we're working on some land in Greene County with Claude that I think has a tremendous opportunity to restore the natural grasses and get things back to where they used to be, which will definitely improve habitat. But there's so many, like you say, so many things we can improve on.
And you know, the deer and the turkey hunting are very important, or the hunting and the fishing, I should are very important, but it's so much more to our outdoor resources than those two entities right there.
No doubt, no doubt. But with Chuck Seitz doing an unbelievable job, Chris Blankenship, we've got a great group up in Montgomery who are looking after the resource first, and that makes such a difference because we're definitely going to make progress with that objective in mind.
And I have had the absolute honor and pleasure of having some of your biologists on here. Last time we were here, Amy Savano, who is the assistant chief of the wildlife division, Mary Ann Hudson, who, God, I can't even name all the titles she's got, and Carrie Threadgill, who's a non-game biologist, released a bald eagle down here. Those three girls were just amazing to listen to. And they were talking about something, Brock, that people just not aware of, part of the conservation department, the non-game division of the wildlife division.
You know, and no doubt. I mean, it's a great staff, and I mentioned Chuck and Chris, but I tell you who is doing an unbelievable job as well, who is very accessible, and you can reach him by just Googling it on the internet. Joey Dobbs, who's the chairman of the board.
I saw him Friday night.
Yeah. He lives up in Bessemer, and it's unbelievable how much time he's willing to spend as chairman, and he takes it seriously.
And that's one reason I'm glad you're here today, because I want everybody listening out there today, whether you're watching on Facebook Live or whether you're listening on Kicks 96.3 in Alexander City, Alex FM 100.9 in Selma, ESPN 104.9 in the Meridian, York, Livingston area, or WJDB 95.5 in Grove Hill, Jackson area. The Conservation Advisory Board is there to represent and support the hunters and the fishermen and the outdoorsmen of Alabama. And it's for so long, it's been a disconnect there, but I see it coming together, Brock.
Well, we very much, like I've said, and I can't overemphasize, want to hear from everybody, that's passionate about hunting, and we want to hear what everybody has to say, and certainly we'll listen to them and take it into consideration, any concerns they might have.
Name all, you got a list of who all's on the advisory board in the district, if you don't mind. Name them, in case somebody's listening.
Ben Stimpson is representing the 1st Congressional District. Of course, Ben is, his family, the Stimpsons, have been the leaders of conservation for 100 years, or so in Alabama. Ben's a great guy. I've known him forever. He's very, very serious about what he does. Gary Wolf down in Baldwin County. Of course, Gary came up with you and William Malone that time we met in Thomaston. Mm-hmm. Gary's got some land over near Thomaston, as a matter of fact. You've got Raymond Jones up in Huntsville, who's been on the board quite a while, and his father was on the board, and he comes from a long line of avid hunters. Gary Barksdale in Rainsville, Jeff Martin in Pell City, Patrick Cagle in Montgomery, Grady Hartzog in Eufaula. Grady.
Well, that's two in the black belt right there.
That's right.
On the other side of the state.
And Grady has been head of the AWF. He has been on the board for a long time, is extremely committed. And of course, we've got Joey Dobbs out of Birmingham/Bessemer. We did have Jessica Butler, who was a great member up in Scottsboro, but she's moved to Georgia, so that's the slot that has to be filled. And it doesn't have to come, she was in the 5th district, it doesn't have to come from the 5th district, it just can't come from a district that's already got 2 members. So the governor will make a decision on that in the next 4 or 5 months.
And that's congressional districts, so we can have 2 in our congressional district, and also the 2 that are already in the black. That'll give us 4 in the black belt, and I'm all for that.
Yep. And I'm hoping it's going to be, like I say, somebody from the 7th district. And my district, as most of you probably know, includes Greene County, Sumter County, Choctaw, Marengo, Perry, Hale, part of Tuscaloosa, Dallas, Wilcox, Lowndes, and part of Montgomery. But
you encourage anybody listening, you're going to open up a line of communication to anybody that wants to get up with you. And don't misuse this trust either, because sometimes, people will call you all during the night. But I think you open up. I don't mind it. I don't mind people calling me in the middle of the night if it's that important to them. Yeah. Well, there you go, y'all. I tell you what, I can tell you from experience, I've never heard that from anybody on the Conservation Advisory Board. I tell you that, but Brock, now we're going to take a break here in a minute. Next segment, what I want to get into is some of the, I ain't going to say problems, but some of the issues we have in the state of Alabama. And I know probably we've discussed this before. The hog issue, the CWD issue, and of course the turkey population issue that is being done with the survey that's going on right now. And we got Mr. Brock Jones. He is a member of the Conservation Advisory Board in Alabama, and he's going to stay with us for the next segment. And we're going to go over some of the issues and concerns of the hunting and fishing and outdoors in the state of Alabama. Y'all don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back to Gettin Outdoors Radio Network. We are live at Roland Cooper State Park in beautiful Camden, Alabama, where it's always in season. And we are talking with one of the members of the Conservation Advisory Board, Mr. Brock Jones. Brock, we got several things. I'm going to cram it in this next 10 minutes. 4 things, my top 4 issues, I think, and that concern me. Number one, I guess, would be the CWD. Let's knock it in the head and get it out of the way. You're on the committee. Talk about where we are with CWD in Alabama right now.
Well, Chuck Sykes has done a great job of having a readiness program if it ever hits here. Of course, there was one incident over in right off the Mississippi River in Mississippi, which is about as far from Alabama as you can get, but it is an adjoining state. They have not found any more positive tests of deer in Mississippi, which is certainly a good thing, just the one, and they really don't know where that one came from as far as how he contracted it. But we're just prepared for, for the, if it ever happens, I have a great plan. One thing that we're going to try to encourage all the processors that are on the state line to make sure that they don't take any deer from out of state as far as processing goes. We can't force them to do that, but we're just asking them in a good faith effort to cooperate. And that's something we're going to try to do before the season starts, is go talk to all the ones that are within 20 miles of the state line, just to encourage them to please be sure to ask anybody that's bringing a deer in where it came from.
And from what I'm hearing from the guys, the processors are cooperating pretty good over that way, so that's good news.
That is good.
All right, let's go to the next issue, which you say, and I don't have that much experience with them because we don't have hogs in the Grampian Hills. But the hog problem, what's going on with that?
Well, it's from what I can what I understand is that the pill that they were looking at doing to make it where the hogs cannot reproduce, that doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Right now, there's some testing going on with some poison in Texas to see if we can safely poison the hogs, but not affect anything else. And that's being worked on right now, and we're probably a couple of years away, 2 or 3 years away from that potentially being enacted.
Yeah, because I think the first test, number 1, they learned a lot and had to drop back and punt on that.
Right. Well, there's no doubt they're going to be certain before they bring anything like that out that it doesn't cause any harm to any other animals.
Okay, and now the hog population in Alabama doesn't seem to be, it's so many people trapping them, so many people hunting them. God knows William Malone, I don't know how many he's lethal on them, but it just doesn't seem to be hurting the population any. What are we going to do? I mean, what would you advise somebody that called you in the middle of the night and say, hey, we got to get rid of them hogs? In your experience on the board, and I guess y'all got them in Greene County up there, what can the average person do about a hog problem?
Well, there are people that know a whole lot more about that than I do, but I've researched it myself for personal reasons and being on the board, and I think the feeling is that if obviously if you do the small traps, then it's going to educate the hogs. But from a financial standpoint, it's really not practical to get the big 30-foot wide circular traps. You know, as far as what to do, that's the ideal scenario, is to get the traps that will get the whole group, the whole sounder, where there's not any that's going to get out to be educated and not to go back in those traps. But I think persistence is the key. Just keep working hard on trapping them. But that's about the only thing you can do. There are 3 main manufacturers, I think, that do the round traps. Prattville, Alabama Hog Hunters, and there's a group in Arkansas that sells it, and there's a group in Texas that sells the round traps that actually drop.
Yeah, and you can operate them by yourself.
That's right, but I'm telling you, I've experienced that. It can take a lot of time if you're monitoring. If you're monitoring that, it can be a 24-hour job knowing when to drop that trap, you know, or drop the door.
All right, the most controversial issue and the most lopsided issue that I've seen, the hunters are for it, and the big corporations, some of them are against it. The baiting issue. Now, before we get into that, and what I'm going to ask you what you think is going to happen this year. I know it's going to come back up again. Why do they put the hog? Why do they not have a law where you can hunt hogs over bait? I don't understand that. Is there any way we can separate that when that bill is introduced?
Well, that's a good question. I think the concern is just the spread of disease possibly, but I'm not as up to date on that question. I'll have to get back with you on that one. But as far as the hunting over bait for deer, of course, you know, it's 100 yards beyond sight.
Yeah.
And
definition.
That's right, the definition that you cannot shoot a deer. But it did not pass in the legislature to allow outright baiting, and of course that becomes an issue every year. And I just wish the legislatures would listen more to Chris Cook and Chuck Seitz and Chris Blankenship, that know what's the best for the resource, Tim Gothard, versus just being swayed by their constituents who really don't have the scientific evidence one way or the other. And I don't mean that in a negative way. They certainly need to listen to the constituents, but at the same time they need to respect what the experts like Chuck and Chris Cook and Tim Gothard and others feel is the best thing.
And also the hunters are for it. You know, they are overwhelmingly for it. But you said something a while ago. Y'all's job is to protect the resource. That's what you want to do.
Right.
And now, it is not against the law to feed deer. It's against the law to shoot deer overfeed. And that's where the gray line is. They tried to correct that gray line with the definition, changing the definition 100 yards out of sight, and it just seemed to make it work. We just need to either make it legal or illegal, and I think they're about to realize that. Of course, this is about the 6th year in a row that they're going to introduce. I'm sure it'll get introduced again this year.
Yeah, that's true, and you know, there's normally a couple of state representatives that are recommending it, and you know, hopefully we can have a little more interaction. That effort has certainly been made to talk to them about the situation and try to come up with some resolution on that.
And as we said a while ago, communication and transparency. Each side thinks they have valid points, and they might have, but you got to think about the resource. The resource is number one. And with this CWD deal and all the research we got out there, we just need to bring it to the front table and sit down and discuss it and make a reasonable decision on it. And I hope that'll happen. Now let's go to the thing that's got a lot of these turkey hunters upset. Is the turkey date. Talk about that. Y'all changed it last meeting.
We did. It was a unanimous vote going from March 15th to the 3rd Saturday of March. And there were a couple of studies done that led us to believe it was in the best interest, again, we're using that term, of the resource, to delay it, which could be as little as 1 day or as much as 6 days starting the turkey season. And the feeling was that There is some pressure on turkeys right now, mainly as we talked about a couple of weeks ago from predators. Hogs are certainly having a negative effect on them, but just anything that we can do to keep those numbers up where they need to be, and the board felt like delaying the start of the season a few days would make a difference. So there was another vote on whether to limit the number of turkeys you can kill during the season from 5 until 4, and that was defeated by one vote, 5 to 4, I think. So the feeling there was, I think, that had a negligible impact on things. I think there's only 3% of turkey hunters in Alabama that limit out.
Yeah.
So, very little impact there.
But the thing I want to emphasize to everybody is you can tell by Brock being here today that and I think you speak for every guy on the Conservation Advisory Board now. They are working for y'all and want to hear from y'all, and you want to know what's going on. And to my knowledge, nobody, you said it a while ago, has a personal agenda. So it is just very exciting to me to have people like you and Joey. I know y'all both pretty good on the board, and man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on the show today and talking, and we got a very attentive audience. I promise you that.
Well, I appreciate it, and once again, to get in touch with us, the easiest thing is probably just to Google Alabama Conservation Advisory Board.
Go to outdooralabama.com
outdooralabama.com.
and just type in Conservation Advisory Board, and you got a map. You got each person that represents you, and I think your phone number's on there,
That's right.
email addresses, so you're really easy to get up with. And as Brock said a while ago, he's open anytime you want to call him, and if you don't get you can leave a message, you'll call him back.
Absolutely.
Brock, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here today. And if there's any way old Big Dad can ever help y'all, I'm right here for you if you need to get anything out there. I got a pretty good audience that listens to me every Saturday morning, and I'm fixing to hit 20,000 on my Facebook page. That's unbelievable.
That is, and we're so fortunate to have you. Wilcox County's fortunate to have you. Conservation's fortunate to have you, and you're getting so big now, I guess you could say the Southeast is fortunate.
Well, I think I might have reached the fame part, but I'm waiting on the fortune, Brock. That's what I'm waiting on. Thank you so much for being here. Brock Jones, member of the Conservation Advisory Board, a great segment, and I'll have this reposted on my Gettin Outdoors Facebook page Monday morning. Y'all can listen if you missed it. We're going to take a break, y'all. We'll be back in a minute, and I got